Oba versus Brock. Clash in Turin, Italy. Let's get into it. We start the show with the undisputed WWE match between Gunther and Cody Rhodes. I must say, it was a pretty good match. I didn't know which way this was going to go. I think we got what we generally get from Cody Rhodes at the moment. I will say Gunther looks a lot faster, a lot sharper. You've seen how he looks as far as the amount of weight loss he has gone through, and I think he looks to be a much more equipped wrestler at this point. He's looking, I guess because he's leaned down, you can see truly how tall he is and how big he is. I think maybe it would have been interesting to keep a little bit more of that weight because he doesn't necessarily have a great deal of muscle on him at the moment, but still looks like a great wrestler, and he looks even better as far as movement goes. So I really actually thought it was quite a good match. It was more of a pure wrestling match though, very old school. Cody looks good, Gunther looks good, and that's all I can really say. It was nothing to really write home about. I just say I see a lot of propensity for future endeavors, let's call it, as far as especially Gunther is concerned. It'll be interesting, especially with the return of Brock to the roster. We know exactly what the WWE want to do with something like that. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens as far as those two are concerned. I'm sure there is a heading in their future, as has been billed and spoken about before. I will say at the end of that Gunther-Cody Rhodes match, it was a weird ending. And a couple of replays later obviously showed us why that was. Gunther had his legs under the rope, so he was beaten by one count, essentially. So very interesting to see. Maybe that Cody Rhodes-Gunther thing isn't done quite yet. And there's other reasons within the show why we could allude to that. So that took us to the Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley match. And I will say, I previously marked something else as my best match of the night, but I think I will give this my best match of the night. I thought the ladies did absolutely outstanding. At first, I watched the match and I thought to myself, this is a match we have seen done before. We have seen the uphill battle of Rhea Ripley against Jade Cargill. We saw that in the last match when Rhea Ripley came out with the title. But what I believe we got is exactly the match I felt we should have gotten, which was Rhea Ripley finding a way. And not just finding a way in desperation, finding a way to become more of an equal footing wrestler. I think Jade still looked amazing. And I think this is probably the third match where I'm saying the same thing about Jade. Jade has evolved more than being someone who just hit powerful moves. Because for a long time, that's all she was, just someone who could hit powerful moves. There was a epic reversal of a DDT that she hit from the Riptide. Any of you who watched the event would have saw that. That was so unique and beautiful, and the timing that she hit it, it really shows you that someone like Jade has also been working on her wrestling ability, because I don't believe Jade has been significantly injured at any point. She has had little injuries here and there. Obviously, there was an injury over the eye, but you can still see a few markings there. However, her injuries for the most part are injuries that allowed her to continue work on her wrestling ability in the ring, and I believe that she has. And she looked absolutely fantastic last night. I think Rhea Ripley is an absolutely great dance partner for her. I think give it a couple more years and we come back to this feud, because there are several big, larger than life females, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have a great match with all of them. But I think Rhea and Jade have found something, and they could carry this feud on for years and years and years. Hope to see you two ladies on an episode of WWE Rivals. So, for me, again, my best match of the night has to go to Rhea Ripley and Jade Cargill. That took us to something that could have been my next closest competitor for that title, but wasn't, I'm afraid. It was Oba versus Brock Lesnar. Now, while this match was epic and it was amazing, we ended up with seven F5s. 7 F5s. 4 at the very beginning of the match. I understand what the WWE did here, but it doesn't hide the fact that there's a lot of politics involved in this match. And you could quite literally tell, because this is not how you write a storyline for Obafemi. The way it was written before made Obafemi the next Brock Lesnar of the WWE. By having Brock Lesnar come back and beating Obafemi, now what you need is a rubber match. Now, I will say, at the very least, it seems like the WWE are alluding to that, or at least Brock is, because that's why he keeps saying 1 and 1. That's 1-to-1, because now they can have a rubber match. The third match in the series, each man is 1-1. You have a third match. Whoever wins the third match is the definitive winner of that thing that CM Punk won't do. Yeah? CM Punk has one match and he loses in a feud, and then he has the next match and he wins and then the feud's over. Drew McIntyre. Otherwise, this was pointless. It was pointless because purely because Brock needs to go on to fight Gunther at SummerSlam, you have essentially taken away from what Obafemi is and was completely working. Now this defeat leads us to questions. You've handed Obafemi, who's supposed to be the next powerhouse, his first defeat on the roster in under a year. Think about the legacy of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar came into the WWE and was undefeated until he collected the WWE title. You've now made sure that Obafemi is no Brock Lesnar. That's what you've done. If you wanted Obafemi to come in and take that spot and title, which I don't think in any way, shape or form, he hasn't done the work or performed in a way that couldn't suggest that. He could definitely be that. I think if you were not born to see the rise of Brock Lesnar, then the most powerful thing you've ever seen in a wrestling ring is probably Obafemi. I think he was more powerful than Ryback. I think he was more powerful than Powerhouse Hobbs in AEW. I think he's a grander sight than the Great Khali. What's the guy, Sanjay Singh or something like that? The new guy from AEW that's absolutely massive. Like, he seems more imposing than Omar. He is the full package. I don't think anyone has ever seen anything as dominating as Oba since Brock Lesnar. I really don't. We've had close iterations, maybe, Lars Sullivan. We had the Beast of Belfast, Killian Dane. But we have never had anything like Oba. And I think the WWE just destroyed that. Unless you have a rubber match and allow Oba to beat Brock again, you've destroyed something real there as far as the WWE goes. So could not take the title for my best match. Loved the promo VT movie, but considering the way, this is not the way. It's all good making a great Marvel movie and then it ends poorly. That's not what we want. It's just on everything that came before it. That took us to Sol Ruka versus Becky Lynch. It was a good match. It wasn't a great match. It was a good match. No surprises on how it ended. I think it's time for Becky Lynch to drop the Intercontinental title. I think Sol Ruka is the next Bianca Belair. I really do. I think this IC title is just a stepping stone that she has to go through. But not this time next year, a little bit earlier than this time next year. She will be at WrestleMania competing for the WWE title or the Women's Universal, whichever. But she will be competing for one of those titles. I would bet my house on it, probably against Rhea. Let's hope it's against Chelsea Green. Let's hope at some point in the next year, WWE figure out it's time to bump Chelsea Green up to full legendary heel status, whatever. Let's do that, shall we? I will say about this match, the most important or more interesting, rather, not important, more interesting part of this match for me was the relationship between Becky Lynch and Jessica Carr. And I really think that we now have a legitimate storyline we can work with here. Fast count, Carr? Come on. We have something. That was the wrong sound effect. We have fast count Jessica Carr. And I think this storyline has been building for a while, and we all know that most of the referees tend to be wrestlers anyway. It would highly surprise me if Jessica Carr wasn't a wrestler of some yoke. So I think it would be very interesting to see Jessica Carr versus Becky Lynch. I know that takes away from some of the other people that are on the roster being overlooked, but I think, let's see where it goes, right? There's no belt involved, just this kind of animosity that's been growing between Jessica Carr and Becky Lynch, because Becky Lynch has been performing this man heel since she's been back, and she's been doing such a great job of it. And I think there's not really much she can't do with that whole role at the moment. So that took us to the main event, which was Tribal Combat. Again, no surprises here, really. The surprise is going to be on how Jacob plays this. Match was, I must say, they did a good job of making it a brutal match, yet inside the ring. That was something of an art form. They made it very kind of graphic. And I think Roman, especially, I've noted this in the last match I saw Roman in, his ability to now tell stories is phenomenal. He really learned that. And I really remember when he was criticized for not being able to do his job properly. He's really come a long way, and he really looks fantastic. And he told a story of finding a way, again, completely finding a way, something that was done in the Jade and Rhea Ripley match. But I think Roman just did it so much better, of not giving up and just finding a way to make sure he could come out on top, to make sure he could win this match. And also do it in a way of dominance, knowing that Jacob was probably still the better man, but there was something to being the champion. I can't remember if it was JBL or it was Booker T, but both come from the same school of thoughts when it comes to commentary. They're both the color commentator or whatever, aren't they? So the phrase is, championship makes you that 10, 20, however many percent better. When you have the championship, it makes you a certain amount better. And Roman kind of had that That's what he told in the story, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It was beautiful to see. Leaps and bounds this man has come. Leaps and bounds. It absolutely fantastic was that. But I will say altogether, the show Clash in Italy, it was difficult to create a better show than AEW did for Double or Nothing. I've seen some people online who have clipped and posted and said that it was trash, it wasn't all that, and I don't think it was trash. I don't think it was the most amazing event, but I think the WWE tried to place excellent wrestlers on a card, really good wrestlers, and then they tried to make sure that those wrestlers could tell stories. And I would say in each match, there was a pretty good story told. It just may not have been Double or Nothing level, because Double or Nothing. But let's remember, this is the first time Double or Nothing found it on this level, on this scale. But the WWE are almost running scared at the moment, because you can see in the production what they try to do. They try to put better wrestlers on the show. Here's the thing, for the WWE now to compete with what AEW has done, they are going to have to push different superstars. That's their problem. They are going to have to push different superstars. And the superstars that they're going to have to push, it's going to take a while for anyone to be invested in any of these superstars, because none of them are in a position that would warrant us wanting to see them. For your information and what I'm thinking of, yes, the Jacob Fatu's maybe, but I'm also talking about Ilya, Carmelo Hayes. I'm talking about Carmelo Hayes. I would say you're going to need Tyler Bates now. You need to take the mask off Tyler Bates now. Because if you want to compete with dudes who can put on wrestling the level of AEW, you're going to have to take the mask off Tyler Bates and you're going to have to take the mask off of Pete Dunne. Basically, you're going to have to push the people who are the non-merch machines at the moment, because there's very few of these people that can wrestle to that level. Maybe I'm looking at my paperwork now. Jade Cargill looks like she may have stepped up to that level. Rhea, we know, is at that level. Gunter is at that level. Cody, yes. Sol Rooker, I'm not sure Becky is, where she can put on a great match, she can tell a great story, but I'm not sure if you want AEW level matches, although she's a shooting. Jacob, yes. Roman, yes. So this show, not too bad. But I don't think Brock is that person. There are a lot of wrestlers that you need to now push. There are a lot of wrestlers that you're not pushing. Tiffany Stratton's ain't going to work. Tiffany Stratton's ain't going to work. Chelsea might work because we've seen what she can do in the indies. But that was a one-off. She even says in interviews that was a one-off, that match with Penta that she did. She ain't doing that kind of stuff again. But we do know she can wrestle and she does have the ability. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Trying to push some of these wrestlers that are in the top spot at the moment, though, to have AEW level matches is going to be difficult. You're going to have to beat them on storytelling, and AEW are getting better at that. So I don't know if that's even possible. Because here's the thing. I would say that WWE are better than AEW at storytelling. However, the best storytellers I have seen in modern day wrestling are probably both in AEW. Because I would say the best I see right now is Tony Storm. And as male goes, I'd say Jon Moxley does an excellent job at telling stories. So does Samoa Joe right now. So I wouldn't have said Will Ospreay, but he's getting better at it. Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland, phenomenal. So I think WWE might be in a little bit of trouble. That's to be said. I don't think this was the worst pay-per-view ever, though. Well, if you like the content, please hit subscribe, hit the notification button. It lets you know when I'm uploading next. And until then, I have been the Triple Crown Champ. And I'll see you next time.